Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sure Babe. This is episode 33. Today, I sit down with Alyssa, a sleep expert and a child behavioral expert as well. She is a wealth of knowledge. I call her all the time with my sleep questions and sometimes my behavioral questions, and she always has a tip for me or just offers me some sort of empathy that allows me to see things in a new way. So I am very excited today to have her on the podcast. We're talking all about sleep, ideas of sleep training, maybe some new ideas that you have never even heard of before. And just to be real transparent with you, I've had 3 kids and I still don't know what I'm doing with sleep. I really am just doing what is best for my child and best for me and my family in the moment. And we talk all about that, why I am not okay with letting my child cry it out at the moment, and some other ideas and ways that you can get them to have a healthier relationship with sleep, how you yourself as a parent can have a healthier relationship with sleep. And I think it will take away some of the anxiety you might feel around this whole subject, because I know as a new mom, I felt so much anxiety when it came to what way do I teach my child how to sleep, and what book was the best, and what method was the best. And the truth is, there is no best way to do it. There's only the best way for you. So hopefully this episode helps uncover some of those myths and ideas of sleep training and behavior in your child and gives you a little bit of encouragement, maybe make you feel like we understand you, we know where you're at. And yeah, without further ado, I will get into the episode with Alyssa.
All right, everyone, I have Alyssa from Seed & Sow on today. We're going to do a super short, digestible podcast together on how you can have a better relationship with sleep and your children. Alyssa is an expert in sleep training, all things, parenting and behavioral stuff. She is the girl I call when I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. And she's helped me in so many different ways with, adding a third and having the whole child dethronement and sleep regressions. And thank you so much for being here, Alyssa. And thank you for taking all of my calls.
You are so welcome. It's really my pleasure.
Yeah, she has an amazing new course, and we're just going to give you guys a short overview and some tips on some things that might change the way that you guys think about sleep and sleep training with your family. So I'm going to hand it over and give it to you, Alyssa, and you can introduce yourself if you want to again and just give everybody listening an idea of what you do and what is in your course.
Totally. So my work and research is in emotional development. I co-created an emotion processing method, like a how-to guide for responding to emotions in a way that builds emotional intelligence. And we researched it across the US, and we're writing a book on it now. And I run these parent workshops I present across the country on emotional development. But what I kept finding over the years is that it's really hard for us to show up as our full selves when we're sleep deprived. And it's really hard for our kiddos to do the same thing. And if you hit up a Google search bar, oh my gosh, you will hear everything under the sun and so many conflicting things that I wanted to dive in and learn about sleep science and what's really to be expected at different ages and stages, and how do we support sleep in a way that is not stressful for all parties involved, and where we can enjoy this relationship with sleep and with our tiny humans. And so I started sleep consulting, I guess 6 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's been wow, that's longer than I realized.
That's amazing.
Then recently moved away from, I'm no longer taking private consultations, but I still wanted a sleep resource for folks to be able to tap into. So I created a blueprint for doing what I was doing in consultations and figuring out what's at the root of the sleep challenge. What are different expectations at different ages and stages? And then how do you create an emotionally supportive sleep plan, both for you and for them, for getting that sleep and for tackling whatever the sleep challenge is. So it's really it's like the back end of what I was doing on these consultations that I'm now just serving up in an online class for parents.
I love that. You said a few things that jogged my memory. You said sleep plan, which is really funny because when Waylon was little, I think I've told you before, like he had colic. It was just the roughest entrance into motherhood. And I was like, is this what every baby's like? Am I ever going to sleep again? I bought a whole sleep plan. Didn't really end up doing it. Didn't work for me. My husband still laughs about it. And I'm like, okay, is there really a way that you have a plan to approach sleep? And like, can it be the same for each kid? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, such a good question. So you can have a plan and know it won't be the same for each kid, and it won't be the same for each family. So we work with folks who are doing anything under this. Like, I don't care where your kid sleeps as long as they're safe. We have bed sharing, we have co-sleeping, you can put your kid in a cardboard box or in a crib. Like, I don't care where they are as long as they're safe. And so from that sense, like every sleep is going to look different for the kiddo to the family. And even just looking at who we are as humans, I mean, we have folks who love physical touch and folks who don't. And I'm working with families who want a later schedule because they get home later from work and don't have to rush out in the morning versus they want an earlier schedule because they do have to get up and go in the morning. And so what we're doing behind the scenes here is just giving you the tools to navigate this for whatever works best for your family.
And I also love how you connected the dots. You were doing like emotional development, and then you realized like if we have this huge issue with like sleep deprivation in parents and children, not, the work for emotional development isn't as great, I feel like.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I know that for me. Yeah, for me, I notice it, and I'm like, I totally notice it in my children now. I'm like, okay, is this because they're hungry, tired, or sick? And usually it's because they're tired. So let's go into some of, I guess your number one questions you get from people, or the number one things that you are having to instruct in people when it comes to a sleep plan or sleep training. I hate using the word training.
Yeah, no, same. So I actually have a full podcast episode on this because it was just like we needed to chat about it. But it's the key to 90% of my sleep consultations is the same thing, which is insane. But it really comes back to this concept that we call sleep pressure. And sleep pressure is really looking at the timing of things throughout the day. Overtired kiddos are the worst, not just to be around, although also that, but they are the worst sleepers. Like getting an overtired kiddo down for a nap or down for bedtime or to try and sleep through the night is really challenging to do. And oftentimes when we look at sleep pressure, so sleep pressure is finding that magic window where they're the right amount of tired. And this changes at different ages and stages because they'll go from newborn phase where we're napping so frequently. And really in the newborn phase, we just want to make sure kiddos are never up longer than like 2 hours is our max, but usually it's less than that. And then we move into like a 4 nap schedule. And then we start to see kids condense that to 3 and then 2 and then eventually 1. And so in this course, and I even have just for nap schedules on my website at seedandsew.org, so SEW, I have a bunch of tools that are all for free in the sleep class, but and if you just want some of the tools, we have like a sample nap schedule for like moving from 3 to 2 to 1 naps in there that you can tweak with your family unit. It's like less than $5 for people to snag if you really want to dive in and make your own. And I go through like what's appropriate for overnight. At what point are we dropping overnight wakings? And when should we really expect kids to sleep through the night? And when you buy our sample sleep schedules, you'll see that some kiddos can sleep through the night before this, but a lot of kids aren't sleeping through the night until between 9 and 12 months. And for some kiddos, it's after that. Usually if they're not sleeping through the night by 12 months, we're looking at sleep pressure and trying to figure out why. Most kiddos can't.
Yeah, when you say sleep through the night, is that like they sleep 6 hours straight? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we actually can see kiddos sleep the first 5 to 6 hours straight around 4 and 5 months. When you start to produce melatonin, which happens, we often hear of that 4-month sleep regression. It's really that kids are starting to produce melatonin. And so they have 2 sleep drives at play now. They have sleep pressure and the circadian rhythm. And the circadian rhythm is really dictated by melatonin's hormone production and light.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we can really see that first 5 to 6 hours consolidated around that 4 to 5 month range. But then after that, we're not seeing more than 5 to 6 straight hours for a little while. So when I said sleep through the night, I really meant that we're sleeping 10 and a half to 12 hours. And like I said, some kiddos, like I was giving a sleep presentation recently, and this mom was like, "Oh, my kid's been doing that since 6 months." And I was like, "Stop telling people that." That is so not the norm.
No.
A lot of kiddos still need to wake and feed at least until about 9 months. Again, some kiddos around 9 months will start to drop those feedings, and usually by 12 months we do see kiddos sleeping through the night consistently, unless there's another challenge at play here, which is where we step in to figure this out. So for me at Seed, we do not practice cry it out. It doesn't mean there won't be some crying, and kids are designed to cry and to communicate with us. But the part of us like creating this plan is really creating a plan for how are we planning to emotionally support them? What is that going to look like? What works best for your family unit? Who's supporting you when you're supporting them?
Oh gosh, you need that.
Right? We all do. And that's a huge part of our plan is that like, if you just go in and you're like, "Ooh, I'm going to go in and do," let's say Ferber intervals is a popular one, where you're going in and out of the space and you're supporting them and whatever. And that's just one of a few options that we like. We essentially condensed all of the sleep books and provided for you an overview of like, here are the different methods. You can choose which one works best for you, and we'll guide you through how to use it. But if you're going to do it, you need someone to emotionally support you, because change is really freaking hard.
It is. It's hard, especially when you're already sleep deprived and then you have multiple children. So you do need that support. Oh gosh, I didn't feel like my first slept through the night till he was 3, and that was just him. And now he's great. Now he sleeps, really good. I want to ask the question about co-sleeping, because you've been the one sleep coach that has really given me that permission to like do what's right for your family. And right now, like having 3 kids and running a business from home and all these other schedules, it's like, yeah, I don't really want to let her cry it out yet. And we live in a small house. Like we're building another house, but it's like she doesn't have her own room, and I don't want to put her in the boys' room where she cries. So, and honestly, like I do like sleeping next to my baby. I sleep better. Yes, sometimes I wake up more and I think she's nursing more because I'm right there. So my thoughts are, is it still okay to sleep train? And am I creating like a sleep crutch in her because she knows I'm there and she doesn't go very long during the night without me next to her?
Yeah, so honestly, I'm a huge fan of the like, don't fix what's not broken. If what you have is working for you, and again, if they're safe. So yeah. James McKenna has awesome research on co-sleeping and how to do it safely and all that jazz. And I always point people to him. We have a whole bunch of his stuff in the sleep class if co-sleeping is what's right for you. But yeah, I mean, I recently worked with Haley Garnett, the littlest Avenger on Instagram. She's a sweetheart. But she has twins that sleep in their room. And so it's her and her husband, and they have twins because they have a 2-bedroom and they have another kiddo in their other bedroom. And she was like, how do we do this? And we ended up like putting up like curtains around them so that they were at least blocked, so they couldn't see her, because what was happening was an early wake where they'd be like, "Oh, hey, Ma, what's good?"
Been there, yeah.
Yeah. But if what you have is working for you and you enjoy it, I don't care what you do. I just want folks to know that if what you have isn't working for you, there are options for making this change in a way that doesn't involve cry it out. And that feels good, like on your heart and for you, and that you can, I mean, I've also worked with families where we're doing sleep plans and they're co-sleeping, like they're not trying to stop co-sleeping, but they might want a kiddo to fall asleep independently so someone else can put them to sleep or something like that. And so, yeah, there are options for wherever you're sleeping.
Okay, and sort of wrapping up, what's your favorite way or favorite method of getting kiddos to sleep better? Or is there one?
So after we look at sleep pressure and make sure their timing is good, because like I said, that's so key.
Yeah.
After we look at sleep pressure, if that's all good, and the environment is set up, for optimal sleep, we have white noise and blackout and all that jazz, then what I'm looking at is how to teach this kid to fall asleep independently, but with support, which kind of sounds funny there. But like, if you have a kiddo who is waking up all throughout the night to feed back to sleep because they don't know how to put themselves back down, and you want to change that, then I want to look at how are we going to support this kiddo to learn how to fall asleep independently. I actually just added some videos to the sleep class of me doing this with, he was 3 weeks old, where we were just like practicing it. And I say in the newborn phase, like anything goes, but I wanted to show people that you can do this in a way. He didn't cry through it. He had already been fed. And what we were just showing him that there was another way to fall asleep other than being fed. And if he's fed when he falls asleep, that's fine too. I just wanted to model for folks that you can have both.
Yeah. Okay. And, for me, I've realized after each kid, it really is just trying something new and not being afraid to try and then see if it works and to give it a real try. Like, use it more than once. Use this like tactic or this new method more than once. Yeah. And then I feel like, okay, I'll usually see my child taking on to it and they'll be like, okay, this works. I can rock her to sleep now. I don't have to nurse her to sleep. And so I just try things, and that's what's worked for me. I feel like just trying to see what works for my baby, what works for me and our family at the time. But I'm so glad to hear that you have so many different options and ways to support parents in this area because it is so hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, Chrissy? Like what I love about what you just said is that you had to try it for more than like a day because all this kiddo knows is what's been expected of them so far, right? And so they don't know that you don't want to feed them to sleep anymore. Only you know that. And so when we're going to start something new, it'll take them a couple days to learn the new expectation and the new routine, just like anything in life, where one day of it doesn't set in a new routine. And so it's important that we're giving them, I usually say like the first 3 days are usually the toughest because they're trying to learn like what's going on here? Like what is this new expectation? And then once they learn the new expectation, it starts to settle into a new routine and it gets easier from there.
And then how does that affect the personal development, or the behavioral growth or the emotional intelligence in your child? Take us from there. I know that's a big jump, but I really want people to get a sense of the work you do in raising emotionally intelligent children because I think it's so important.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, sleep is just so crucial for all of us showing up as who we want to be. As you said, like when your kids are having those hard moments, you look at it and you're like, all right, are you like tired or hungry? Because we're going to look at those core pieces first. So if these kiddos are getting quality restorative sleep, they can show up and thrive in a way that it's really hard to do if they aren't. And so that for me is like I said, that's why I started doing the sleep consulting. That was the basis of it for me. And then also, I think it's really important to know anytime we're teaching kiddos anything behavioral in terms of sleep. So say we're moving from a coping mechanism like feeding or a pacifier to follow sleep. If we're going to move away from that, we're doing that work during the day. So I'm never going to put a kid in a situation where they don't have tools to navigate it. And so what we want to be working on all day long is emotion processing. And when you have this hard feeling, what coping strategy are we offering them so that they learn how to find their calm? And then we can bring that into bedtime and into nighttime.
Okay. Also, one thing that I even repeat that you have told me in your emotional development work was like the overall gift that you're giving kids is that you're teaching them how to, well, for one, you're like accepting and normalizing their emotion and saying that it's normal, and that it's good. It's just, or that it's neither good nor bad. And then you're helping kids cope in that way, that you're helping them find the tools that they already have or that you're teaching them. And then you're giving them, I mean, I believe it's just instilling so much confidence in them that it's like they're not bad and they don't have to behave bad. That's not the only choice. They can make a better choice, or they can ask for what they need. I love the story you told me of the girl that you were working with in a kindergarten class or something, and she was kind of having a meltdown, and you asked her what she needed. And you gave her the choice of like, do you need space or a hug? And I think she said hug, and you gave her a hug. And then she moved through what she was stressing over faster. And so I love the work you do, Alyssa.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm happy to come on and do a more in-depth thing on like coping and how to build coping strategies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can circle back.
I think we should do a whole nother episode on coping strategies in children. I think that, yeah, we could probably talk for hours on that.
Sure can.
Okay, so we promised this was going to be a short one, so let's wrap this up real quick. Can you give some top 3 tips parents can do today to help support their children in sleeping better?
Yeah, so figure out how long, I guess look at their awake periods is going to be the first thing. So come on over, snag our sleep schedules, or you can for free tune into my sleep pressure episode. It's Voices of Your Village podcast. It's episode 41. And I guide you through like, what should those awake windows look like at different ages and stages? When should nap happen? When should bedtime happen? Guys, that is the number one thing that we look at, and it affects so much. I just worked with a family this week who all we did was shift the awake windows, and she went from waking every 3 hours to sleeping through the night. We didn't have to do any behavior response.
Wow.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, I'm going to that episode right now.
Episode 41. And the next thing is to look at your environment. Make sure that when it's sleep time, it's dark in there. We should have blackout shades and dark, especially at nighttime and in the early morning, and that you have white noise. White noise does not induce sleep, but it protects sleep. It drowns out that outside noise to help kiddos sync cycles, especially when you're looking at nap time. If there's other sounds, which there always is, but especially if you have other siblings around, things like that, having white noise is huge. So environment. And then lastly, to just like take a deep breath. There are so many tools that we can support you with. And I know the very first question, the royal baby was just born, and one of the first questions in that interview was like, how's he sleeping? I was like, are you kidding me?
I thought that was hilarious. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, everybody is asking this all around you, and it can be overwhelming. And you are allowed to say, hey, I don't want to talk about my kid's sleep. We are working on it, and it's just a sore subject for me right now. It's been really challenging. And that's it. You're allowed to advocate for yourself from those around you to say, I'm just not in a place to talk about this right now while you build this toolbox.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Alyssa. You guys definitely need to check out her podcast and her website and all the goodies she has. She has so much free stuff to help support parents. So check her out. And yeah, I hope you guys get sleep tonight. And if you don't, it's okay. It will come. That's my advice.
Oh, I love it. Thanks for having me, Chrissy. If folks want to find the sleep class, if they're interested, it's awakekiddossnoozyparents.com. And they can use Chrissy10 for 10% off.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. We will have her back on soon. I promise, guys. All right. Thank you so much, Alyssa.
Thanks, Chrissy.
All right, I hope that offered you guys some encouragement today as you are raising good humans. You are doing the hardest job in the world. So pat yourself on the back, have a cup of coffee or tea or whatever fills you up, because you deserve it. And I promise you, sleep will come. It will come, maybe not when you want it to, but it will come, and it will be glorious. I'm right there with you. I just wanted to also say, if you wanted to get a hold of Alyssa, you can check out her website, seedandsew.org. That is seed, SEEDANDSEW.org. And there will be links to her podcast and her e-course as well, and all her other awesome freebies that she has. And I wanted to just say thank you again for your support. If you are liking what you're hearing, please click that subscribe button wherever you're listening and rate and review our podcast on iTunes. It really does help us out. And if you would like to be a part of our Sure Babe Patreon page, you can click the link in this bio of this podcast. Sorry, this is getting kind of long. Yes, click the link for the Patreon page or go to patreon.com/surebabe. You will find us and you can be eligible for our monthly meditations that I am creating just for our Patreons. I put so much into that. I really do think about how it's going to impact your lives and try to produce things that are going to make your life better. So head over there if you're interested in supporting Sure Babe and being eligible for those meditations that you can only get there. All right, thank you guys so much and have an amazing day.